All right. Yo, yo, yo. Good afternoon, everybody. Thank you for coming through. You're here with me, Dr. Doug. This is Piercing Through, Lunchtime Hour. And here, basically, what I'm going to do here today, we're just going to review some music here, do a couple of music reviews, maybe a couple of lighthearted videos, and we'll get into some composition talk. This will be kind of some nuts and bolts stuff. And just to let you know, I am a composer of music as well as a performer and conductor of music. My purview of the last 15 to 20 years has been in the area of composition, and particularly working with doing commercial music writing, writing for film, television, and doing commercials as well for various companies and various entities, online entities, and so on and so forth. So that's kind of my area by way of doing so-called jazz, writing for jazz ensembles, particularly big band. Is a pretty solid area of expertise that I have, and excuse me, that I have, as well as writing for chamber group to large orchestra as well. I have a lot of experience dealing with that. So that's a bit about me, and you know, I really want to have this be a very, very fun time with us as well. But at the same time, I hope you leave here having learned something, as well as I hope I would have learned something myself by reviewing some of the stuff that I've already known for years, but just kind of going back over and reiterating that stuff. For those of you who are into new to the space, especially in YouTube and Facebook and things like that, Twitter as well, please do not forget to like, share, and subscribe. Make sure you hit the notification bell in the YouTube space. Do it for all, because I haven't done a set schedule yet, but I will be doing that as time goes on. Also, be on the lookout for the Patreon page that'll be coming. So if you want to support your man here, Patreon is going to be a great way to do it, and that's also a good way for me to add more content to the things that we cover, the topics of discussion during the normal show. I can't get into everything, but on the Patreon page, I can get into a little bit more of the sort of wiring of what makes some of the things tick that we'll discuss here. Also, if you like to, you can also support me via Cash App. And let me get that handle up for you. That Cash App handle is $Pierced Ear Music. So it looks like this. $PIERCEDEARMUSIC. Okay. So you can support that way. Another thing too, I urge you all to do is to go and check me out at DougPierceMusic.com. www.dougpiercemusic.com, and there you'll find more of my work. Actually, that's where you'll find a lot of my work, a lot of pieces. For those of you who are into sheet music, I have sheet music there as well as tracks, and I'll be uploading some videos very soon as well. Excuse me. Some of these live videos are also, you can also visit me on Facebook as well. So there's my handle for Facebook. For those of you who are out in the soon-to-be metaverse space here. So Facebook is going to be changing its entire platform, and that's going to be very exciting. I definitely want to be a part of that, at least to see what those upfront changes are going to be, and how to navigate through that space. But as it stands right now, my handle is just simply my name, music, Doug Pierce Music. Facebook.com/Doug Pierce Music. I also have a music page there, and that is actually available via my profile. But if you must know, it's just simply Dr. Doug Music. Facebook.com/Dr. Doug Music, and I'll put that up here too. I failed to put that up, but I'll make sure I'll put that up here. Okay. So let's get into it. We're going to review a couple of things. One of the first pieces that we'll review, I'll share the screen with you in a short while here, is a piece of mine. It's actually a ballad, and one of the things that what I aim to do in this piece was like a requiem piece for my deceased mother, and so during that time, I didn't want to just write a simple, just a normal AABA type of ballad. I wanted to do that, but I also wanted to add some other endings because I simply felt that I had more to say towards the end of the piece. And so what you'll hear is the normal rigmarole of a ballad, which is usually at a slower tempo. And we'll talk about some of the harmonic schemes that I use to make some of these transitions work the way that they seem to work in the ballad as well here. The work is entitled Jean's Eyes. Jean's Eyes. So let me cue this up here, and we'll get going. Let me not use Spotify yet. I'll go to Spotify later. Let me get up my... here we go, the Amazon Music stuff. Here we go. Let me see. There we go. Okay. And let's do a good share screen so I can share the audio with you. Share the audio with you. Here you go. Here we go. All right, awesome. And let's do that. And let's get over here to let me know make sure that you guys can hear that, but I'm pretty sure you can. Awesome. I see you, Sean. Let me do that real quick. Here, give me 1 second. Settings here. Excuse me. Okay, so here's what I'm going to do. I'm going to kind of fast forward to the end, towards the end. I want to get to the coda. So this material that you have happening here, we've heard this already. So this is just, we're doing what's called taking the head or the main melody out, or to end the piece. So I'm going to go to the end because I want to talk about the ending, and I want to talk a good deal about the harmonic movement of this piece here. Let me get about here. Here we go. Let me go back a little bit. Here we go. A little bit more. Here we go. So we've heard this part. So now we're going to add the tag or the short coda here. So this is going to be slightly different material. So now this is the start of that new section there. All right. So I'm gonna come back to these last two. So we're gonna basically take this tune, we're gonna kind of work backwards here. So with this particular piece, obviously this is a pretty special and endearing piece since it's something that I wrote for my mother. I only have a couple of pieces that I wrote for her, and this is probably my favorite one that I wrote for me. One of the things that I really wanted to uh, get with the last two chords was sort of like the sort of the pain of loss, and then the longing to see one's face again. And so I made the direct conscious decision to use what I thought at the time was a synthetic chord, but it's really not a synthetic chord at all. It does come from a particular scale. So here's some of the secret sauce. So that last chord, that the penultimate chord, or the chord before the very last chord, is E major 7 over C. And then the last chord is just C major 7 sharp 11, or C major 13 sharp 11. So it's just kind of like, it's Lydian. So it's a modal, it's a mode that I use there. So I use Lydian there to sort of end. And in fact, the last note that the trumpet plays is on the sharp 11, which is the Lydian note. So it's kind of that color tone that sort of gives that particular chord that kind of flavor. Before that, though, I use this really just kind of very strong, very strong chord. I started to get into these harmonies more and more as I started, and basically it's a part of who I was checking out at the time. When I wrote this in, uh, I wrote this the year, a year after she had passed. So this is like 1999. So during that time, we're starting to have a lot of contemporary jazz music happen where a lot of people are exploring a lot of these very sophisticated and very intense harmonies outside of just the normal sort of 2 to 5 to 1 type of framework. You're also starting to see composers move the chords in like thirds. Now, this is something that I directly got from my first mentor, the late great Calvin Jones. One of the things that he used to like to do in his arrangements was take chords and move them in minor thirds or major thirds. He had this thing with outlining chords via chord movements. So like a C major 7 chord, it would be like B major 7, G major 7, E major 7, and then C. So he liked to move things in, like this tertian move type of movement in thirds. So going back to this E major 7 over C chord, let's listen to it again, and I'm going to tell you the scale that it comes from. One of the scales that it comes from. There's a few different scalic options, but I found this to be probably one of the more sound options orally. Aural orally. Here we go. Let's try it again. Hold on. Let's go back. Here it is. So if you and one of the things, if you notice, the pianist this is my man. This is one of my other brothers. I've known, gosh, I've known Alan for about 25 years now. It's been a long time. We're really old. We're getting old now. But I've known this brother for 25 years, so he's very good with his top end voice leadings on the piano. So so initially you never have to worry about trying to figure out what the change is. He's always very clear. That's one of the things I love about his playing is how clear, the level of clarity, high level of clarity in his harmonic choices and note choices when he's putting together his voicings. And if you notice, you can hear him playing sort of like an arpeggio on top, where it's like the sort of the so instead of E flat, you're going to say D sharp, B, G sharp, and then he avoids the E, but then he goes down to the B, and then the G sharp and back up. So you hear this, you'll hear this sort of leap with avoidance of the actual root of the top chord there. And this is one of those things where the pianist didn't really feel the need to play the root of that chord, even though it's the third of the associated pedal point, because the basis is on the bottom anyway, and it's more implied. I think it's in the left hand voicing. If you listen carefully, you can kind of hear it in the left hand voicing, and then the right hand doesn't really need to play it because it's already established. And then you have the pedal point in the bass there, so there's no reason to play the C as well in his voicings there. But anyway, that level of clarity. But let's play it one more time, and I'll tell you. One of the places that if I played this piece again, I didn't really, to be perfectly honest with you, I have to admit, I didn't really have a scalic option in mind when I was improvising over this. I just was kind of using my ear. I was just basically using my ear. But now I would use my ear with some directional, with some intention behind some of the scalic options that I know now because I apply this stuff to my writing. But check it out one more time. And then the C Lydian. All right. So we all know So the whole C Lydian thing, we all kind of know, about that one. I do have some other scalic options for that. However, with the E major 7 over C, I actually that particular sound itself is generally I usually would find that in E harmonic major. When I So here's a quick story. I remember being a part of the BMI Jazz Composers Workshop in New York City, and I remember. Okay, okay. I remember we kind of getting into a talk about this, and I brought up this piece of mine, and I remember finally deciding that that would be one of the scaling options that I would use. And so when I played the chord, I remember Jim McNeely and Mike Holliber sort of like, well, why wouldn't it be C? But the reason why I didn't choose C, because there were voice leading wise, it was set up some unsupported dissonances and in the chord that I may not have wanted that particular effect. So I'm not going to say that are wrong or anything like that. I try to stay away from using that kind of language when it comes to writing, because there are times, like if you're going to use, like for instance, if you're going to go into like 12 tone techniques, um, every other technique is probably going to be wrong if you're using that kind of language, because the voice leading and the voicings are going to be are set up in a way where you're going to have unsupported dissonances all over the place, like and you could possibly set up some of the position by way of position as well as by way of note. So for instance, like you could have adjacent second separate violations, so-called violations, and then you can also have flat nine violations. And then you have to sort of revamp it. And this is where, but the thing is that with 12 tone techniques, it's not really so much about that. There is some of that, but it's not a lot of that, because you are going to run into those issues. The thing that I see in most 12 tone technique pieces that are really done well is that many of these issues are resolved by way of the next harmony or the subsequent harmony after that harmonic structure or voicing afterwards. So that's one of the reasons why I kind of try to stay away from that. But what I find though is if I use E, like I told them, if I use E harmonic major, every note within that scale is either going to act as what's called a chord tone or a color tone. So so there's going to be you're going to have basically chord tones or supported dissonances that are going to make the voicing rich. They're going to enrich the voicing and make them sound fuller. Like for instance, major sevens or minor seconds make your voicing tend to sound fuller because of that one little dissonance. And even though it's a rub, it's a supported dissonance because it brings about a particular type of richness to the quality of the chord there. So so that's that one. And then of course you got the Lydian thing happening there. Now working back, the piece itself is the form of that piece is just AABA. But then what we end up doing is we end up adding that last section, that last coda there, and that's where we're that's sort of one of the things that makes the ending of that piece tick. Another thing that makes this piece tick is the movements of the piece. So there's a harmonic reason why I like moving things around in thirds. What it does is it breaks the 2/5. It gets the composer sonically aware and to break away from what I like to call 2-5-1 bias. Shout out to my man Dr. Thunder. In one of his talks he did when we got to talking about harmony, he talked about root bias and particularly the way that bass players tend to play a lot of times on so-called jazz gigs. And so one of the things in the music itself and so-called jazz music that we tend to deal with, because it's one of the most fundamental voice leading techniques to use, is the 2-5-1 pattern, chord pattern. And so to break away from the bias of that, you're finding composers in the contemporary vein now doing more pedal points. They're using more extended harmonies for extended periods of time. And even if they move those extended harmonies around, they're moving them either stepwise or they're doing thirds, they're doing them by fourths. So there's all kinds of constructs, harmonic constructs that are sort of making the pieces sound a lot less alike. So now you're able to start to distinguish from piece to piece because of these types of movement, especially when you start throwing key and tonality and tonicization into it. You start ended up with some very interesting sounding things there. And so that was one of the things. So movements and thirds. Piece opens up uh, F major 7. And then it moves directly to A major 7, raise 5. And then it moves back down to F minor 7. And then it moves back up to A minor 7. So if you notice, there's a pattern here. So it's like major, major raise 5, intensity, intensity, even more intensity, then releases in the minor, the F minor chord. And then the next release is to go up to a major third, but it'd be a minor 7. And then we start getting into this sort of walk down. And so let me go back. I'm going to go back to the beginning here, and I'll play the beginning, and that way you can just kind of see what we're talking about here. Here we go. So F major 7, and then A major 7 raise 5, back down, release F minor 7, then release up to A minor 7. Then now this is all minor thirds. Those aren't minor thirds. So we end up going from so then the release is back down to F minor 7, A flat minor 7, and then up to B sus. And then we start this thing B sus down to G sus. And let me go back here. I can't remember. I don't have the score in front of me, so I have to just hear them out. It was what, 20 years ago when 21 years when I wrote this, 22 years now, actually 22 years ago when I wrote this, and then 20 years ago when I recorded it. So oh, okay. And then so then it's major third down, descend major third, then descend minor third, and then down. So E sus, and then C sus. So here's the thing. I didn't even pay attention to this all these years. So I'm actually doing the exact same thing that I described my first mentor of doing, where he likes to outline chords using chords. And I'm actually doing this because I'm doing B sus, G sus, E sus, to C sus. You see, you dig what I'm saying? So that's a C major 7 chord, and then it kind of then it keeps going. Let's see where it keeps going to here. So then it just keeps going down. So then that's A 7 sus, and then F sharp 7 sus, and then chromatic movement down to F alt dominant, or F7 alt, which is sharp 5, sharp 9, sharp 9, sharp 5, however you want to say it. And then we're back to the F major 7. So that's the second A there. So yeah, so you have that kind of stuff, and going on with that piece. And that's kind of the breakdown. When we get to the bridge, I'll give you the bridge, and then we're going to move on to the next piece here. We're going to review a rap song, actually, and we're going to have a little fun with this one, because this gentleman's, he's really killing. He's really dope artist. Anyway, so when we get to the bridge, we go to D. Okay, so we start out with D major, and so what I do is I use this sort of little James Bond thing in terms of the movement. If you ever notice, you have your fifth, and then you have your raised fifth, or flat 6, and then you have your natural 6 or major 6, and then you start coming back down to the perfect fifth. And this is whether it's major or minor. In this case, in the movie's case, it's minor, but in this case, it's major. So D major, and then D major raise 5 or flat 6, and then D major 6/9, and then I go to D7 to set up the next. So I finally give a release, which is a typical or normal release, which is a 5/7, which is D7 going to G. And so let's check that out real quick. Hold on. We'll go up a little bit here. Here he is. So that's D. And then D, raise 5 or flat 6. And then D major 6/9. And then D7. G. All right. So those are really the main components of that piece that just sort of make it tick, make it really work, to get out the things that or express the things that I really wanted to uh, you yeah, that's right, Sean. Thanks, man. Yeah, you'll hear it. That's right. You know what I've learned over the years is that anytime somebody says that to me, that's like, I now for me, I have a cheat code. I have an internal cheat code with me. I have perfect pitch, so I'm able to I know what these things are supposed to be, or have a good idea of what they are supposed to be and where they're going. So anytime I had a person that was a more experienced musician, and it was like I asked a question, oh man, you'll hear it, don't worry about it. It's like, okay, you trying to mess with me, but that's fine, I will hear it. And then I'll start figuring out the stuff, and then they get upset because then it's just like, hey man, hey, that's my shit, man. What you doing playing my shit? It's like, I heard it. So you don't want me to hear it, don't play it. So man, I could go around stealing so much stuff from cats, man. I just morally, I just don't, because I don't want cats to feel some kind of way. And then there are times I just don't care. I just don't give a crap. I just be like, I'm stealing this. You could tell me how it goes and show it to me, or I'm gonna just figure it out. If I really feel like I want to figure it out, I'm gonna just figure it out, and then I'll go figure it out, and then you'll be mad. And so it's just like, so I just make your ass mad. Anyway, so that's Gene's Eyes. For those of you who are just joining us, please, 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 make sure you hit the like button, hit the notification button, and subscribe to the channel. And please like, share, and subscribe, and hit the notification button. It helps a lot. Algorithm allows me to continue to bring more content like this to you guys. Also, the other thing I want to remind you of, for those of you who wish to support what we're doing here, we're going to have a Patreon page very soon. But in the meantime, if you feel so inclined, please support via Cash App. $ PIERCEDEARMUSIC, Pierced Ear Music, Cash App. All right. Also, don't be shy, and do not be a stranger. Come and visit me at my website at DougPierceMusic.com, www.DougPierceMusic.com. And I also believe if you put www.piercedearmusic.com, the website will come up as well. I'm going to check on that this week, or going into this weekend. I think it does, and so I'll have this as a banner as well the next time that I broadcast with you guys. Also, visit me on Facebook. Handle is facebook.com/Doug Pierce Music, and that, just come over and say hi. And you can also hit my music page, which is facebook.com/Dr. Doug Music, and that takes you directly to the music page. I do have a release that will be coming out as a composer. So sometimes as composers, we'll release anthology albums and records, but we'll do one of two things. We'll either release a record or an album, or we'll release pieces. and so I'm releasing a piece. I wrote a chamber music piece entitled "Suite for the Panagia." You'll hear a little bit of a rough mix at the end of the broadcast here. That particular piece is a four movement song suite written for a chamber music ensemble with three voices, and that's songs. It's also subtitled "Songs for the Theotokos," so the Virgin Mary. And what I've done is I've taken a lot of Eastern Orthodox liturgical hymns, and I basically crafted contemporary gospel jazz music settings around those hymns. So one of the things in the Orthodox tradition is we tend to take hymns, basically the words of a hymn, and we have umpteen number of musical sets for those hymns. So there's hundreds of versions of the Lord's Prayer. Um, there are favorites. I think even Tchaikovsky has a version of the Lord's Prayer that's absolutely beautiful, and we sing it at St. Mark's Orthodox Church in Bethesda, Maryland. We sing it all the time. Um, there's a famous composer out of Russia by the name of Nikolai Kedrov. I think his name is Nikolai Kedrov, and we sing a lot of his works. Probably one of my favorite versions of the Lord's Prayer in the Orthodox setting there. So we have just hundreds. I mean, just hundreds of musical settings for the same hymn, uh, and a lot of those hymns are locked into the service cycle. So the way that the service is hit, that's going to be where the actual hymn is going to be positioned and things like that. This particular suite is not really set up that way. It is set up to be rearranged that way so that it can be used within particular liturgical service cycles. But that was one of those things where I was taking church and presenting it to the world. And so that's why you have the settings made this way. However, I have one piece or within the suite that actually is set up whether inside or outside of the church, to be sang in the service cycle, because you could just replace the voices with the instruments. And that's the third song. That is the angelic salutation slash steadfast protectress, protectress. Excuse me, I can't talk for some reason. Protectress, which is a hymn we sing every Sunday at our liturgies. And I wrote this in a way with a new musical set that I wanted to kind of capture a particular type of Eastern flavor in this, but with a gospel operatic voice. And so shout out to my man Daniel Impama, who just did an absolutely beautiful job on this. That's the one I actually was deciding on making a music video, and I just couldn't let that one go. So I'm going to eventually make a music video for that one, starring him. Hopefully, if he's still in town. So stay in town long enough, man, so I can get this video shot with you. So, but yeah, Daniel M. Palmer. Check out his Facebook page. He's a brilliant brother, great singer, just an all around great musician and great guy. A very talented individual here in the Lincoln area. So yeah, let's do this here. I have a rap song that I'm gonna bring up here. I'm gonna review. This guy is talking his stuff in this, and what I'm going to do is let me stop this share real quick because I'm gonna do it again. So the gentleman goes by the moniker of Screwface John. He's a Lincoln raised rapper. He's worked with like all kind of folks in the industry, from Logic, Tech Nine. Oh my gosh, he's worked with Kendrick Lamar on some stuff. I think he's even worked with Drake on some stuff, and he's written for these people. I mean, he's written music for these people, and just incredible wordsmith, lyricist. Just got, you got to listen real close to him because he gets real quick. He reminds me a lot of Twista from the 90s. The rapper Twista used to hang with, did a lot of features with the 3-6 Mafia. So he's kind of out of that bag, that sort of southern Twista, tongue twisting type of rap. But it's just like, but he brings like another thing to it. He's Nigerian, he's a Nigerian American, so he's got a kind of flavor with that. Plus, by being from Middle America, This brother is from, one of the things that I noticed being here in Nebraska, even though I got a Alabama shirt on. Shout out to the Roll Tide. This is really shout out to my father-in-law who lives in Alabama. So shout out to Clarence. I love you, man. Anyway, he you know people here, the life here of a person, there's two things you're going to do. You're either going to be kind of a vagabond, kind of rat, kind of cat, or you're going to be a hardworking individual out here. People out here work, man. I've worked with a lot of these people, a lot of people he's talking about in the song. Song's called Dirty Water, and he's talking about coming up from the bottom, just getting it out of the mud, getting to everything, what are your life aspirations, your dreams, your hopes, all of that stuff, just getting it out of the mud. And people out here, they work, man. I worked in manufacturing. I worked in some of these factories, and some of these people, man, they're out here. They don't complain. They just get up and they just work. We're talking grueling hours. 12 hours. 14 hours. A lot of them working like anywhere from 80 to 80 to 90 hours a week in some cases, especially when we have these periods where you have these um, periods of mandatory overtime. You don't get no days off, man. You want days off, build up your PTO and take a vacation. That's basically how it goes around here. And so he's really talking some stuff, man, in this, and it's fantastic. Let me cue this up here, and shout out to the restaurant, the hot dog restaurant, Fly Dogs. They're featured in the film. If you're in Lincoln, check them out. They make great hot dogs, man. They're fantastic. Fly Dogs. I think they're on O Street, 3111. I think it is 3111 O Street. And it's just, it's right in the heart of Lincoln, Nebraska. Let me see here. There we go. Get our commercial out of the way. All right. Okay, so let me share this with you real quick, and I'll stop it here and there, and we'll talk about a couple things in the lyrics here that I think need to be highlighted and spoken about. Share. Here we go. Share audio. Okie dokie.
No cheese, no nothing? Nope. All right, coconut now it's coming. Yeah. Real talk. Real talk.
Oh, real quick. So fair use. All right. And one more thing. You have been warned. You have been warned. Watch for the language here. Some of the language here, some may be found. Some language may be found to be offensive. But other than that, it's a very positive song. So fair use, and there you go. Parental advisory. Some language may be found to be offensive. So you have been warned. All right, continuing on. Check it out.
Goto on the track, so we better tear it up.
I don't really give a fuck, you dig. If it's up, then it's up, you dig. Keep on playing with me. Where I'm from, niggas stuck, you dig. So, but then I'm turning up, you dig. Keep on playing with me. How to turn into something big when I really come from nothing, you dig. I came from dirty water, bro, bro. I came from dirty water, bro, bro. Yeah. Live from the trenches, right off the benches, you know this guy. Ironically, this your death makes you feel so alive. You feel grounded when you're surrounded by 45. Bitch, I'm from the land for a quarter, you fucking daughter down. Bottom line, niggas don't walk around with the large nine. You got gangs like Boko Haram and all them guys. Can make a blood in a crib look like the smaller fry when you're drilling the killings of government off the line. Stop, God, this is the lesson that I taught you. They're looking at me as the bridge from the high water, like a ding put rocking him down the high waters. Fuck it, I get this is the price of these rhymes bought you. Questioning if I'll ever live up to my father, cause when it comes to struggles, mine's are not harder.
Oh snap! Yeah, I told you, man. This dude, he talking some ish, man. Yeah, this is like some real truth, you know. This is a self-aware brother, young man, because he's talking about if he had ever lived up to his father, but looking at his struggles, mine are not harder, because biographically he's seen his father be rejected, have his visa revoked, and he had to take his family back to Africa and struggle to get his money back up to bring his family back over for good this time. It's just an incredibly tough way to go and road to go, so that he gives his kids an opportunity that he didn't feel he would get there, but here he would. So I mean, this cat just paying homage. That's a direct, paying homage to your father, man. This is just so killing, man. So dope, man. To have that, to be able to recognize it and be so aware of it. Carrying on. Here we go.
3 village kids, 1 plane that got charged. That's like an offer to be the next Sean Carter. That's why I poppy for my papa. Chopper singing like Pavarotti in the opera. I don't really work with Kendrick. I don't really work with Walker. I even work with Logic, and now it's kind of ironic. If the kids supposed to pay.
Facts. Facts. If you read the cat's resume, that he's not lying. This ain't no cap. This is straight up facts. Straight up facts here. He really has worked with these people, and not only worked with them, but he's written music for them. He's written stuff for them, material. And which is obviously going to help him get to the bag even more because he got his own stuff going on. But then he was able to make money by working with these individuals, which snowballed into him being able to work with more individuals. He's straight up facts, man.
For all the sins of the father, I apologize in advance to my sons and my daughters. Hopefully the universe will have some mercy upon us, because their father came from the dirtiest waters. Love to my people. The situation is so lethal. We're praying like Father, we need you. Deliver us off of this evil. But they're still in that dirty water. I don't really give a fuck, you dig. If it's up, then it's up, you dig. Keep on playing with me. Where I'm from, niggas step, you dig. So, but then I'm turning up, you dig.
I forgot about this. So in the hook, check out in the hook, man. So like what I was talking about earlier, where people around here, man, people around here in Middle America and places like Lincoln, Nebraska, Omaha, Crete, Hastings, Seward. Don't even get me started talking about Seward. How look, you got a few options. You can work at Walmart or you can work at Tenneco. So I'm here. I'm here in Lincoln. So I know what the hell I'm talking about. Tenneco is like that's Nebraska. That's the kind of stuff you deal with in Nebraska. Hard. People work hard out here, man. And so what he's saying, N-word stuck, you dig. So for them, I'm turning up, because cats are stuck here, man. They stuck here working. They take their vacation, and don't get me wrong, people make money. People ain't broke like that. I mean, people they have their financial struggles here and there. Don't get me wrong, but people here work hard, and it's a testament to, like, if you work, you will reap even direct monetary benefits from working. This is one place to, these jobs ain't no minimum wage jobs. F what you heard. A lot of these jobs pay really well. That's why so many people work at a lot of these places. but they are tough gigs. They're not hard, they're not easy gigs, you know. So he knows this though. He's seen his dad. His dad probably was like a tech guy, became a tech guy, probably started out busting his butt in the factories, working 12, 14, sometimes 16-hour days, doing doubles. You know, that happens a lot in a lot of these factories. Cats to do these doubles, you know, for productivity's sake. And you know, they get so many hours where they can sleep, and then they come back to work, and then they, you know, and then they make that double overtime, or they time and a half, or they make the double time and stuff like that. I mean, people out here working hard, man. So he recognizes that, and he's doing a salute, a big salute to them. He's throwing them up on his back, and I got to get a man. I got to get a man so much props for that, because so many times people in places like this, they can't wait to get out, and when they get out, I'm out. You know, they don't even mention, you know, this place, but to him, his formative pain, formative suffering, and overall formative years was spent here, and it made him into the man that he is today. And so for him, he's very proud of that. And hell, I'd be proud of that too, you know.
How to turn into something big when I really keep nothing to dig. I came from dirty water, bro. I came from dirty water, bro. I came from dirty water, bro. The whole gang from dirty water, bro. Coming in from dirty water, bro. No change, just dirty water, bro. I came from dirty water, dirty water, dirty water, bro. But I think that dirty water, dirty water, dirty water, bro. Now I'm just trying to lift up all my little brothers and my sisters that realize when the nigga come and get us. I ain't trying to hurt your feelings, but I'm painting something like a business. As long as we dying, then they make a killing. Niggas protecting their interest. I'm a product of my past, guys. I'm the product of the product you caught from the last guy. Bad guys either drown in the water for past lives or rise up the water or still then you baptized. As I murder the haters that pass by, slide the clip in the Mac like a Mac in a flash drive. If you itching to act, I advise you to act wise, cause the kick in the ass at the same from a Mac 9, nigga. Wanna crash, this shit is like Fast 5. Be the evil Vin Diesel, this shit is a test drive, nigga. But I be ignoring these whack guys, nigga. They don't matter like black guys, nigga. I don't really give a fuck you did. If it's up, then it's up, you did.
Yo, I gotta put out that last bar here, man. And I'm not even a Black Lives Matter guy, but that was some slick shit, man. That was freaking slick. You know, I avoid these whack guys because they don't matter like Black lives. That's hard, man. That's a real hard bar, man. I gotta give it to him. The dude is a dope lyricist, so I expect nothing less from him. Here we'll carry on to the end. Check out the end here, which is basically right around the
Keep on
corner.
playing with me. Where I'm from, niggas stuck your dig. Except for them, I'm turning up your dig. Keep on playing with me. How to turn into something big when I really keep nothing to dig. I came from dirty water, bro. I came from dirty water, bro.
I ain't gonna run that back.
Using two chords. It's just two chorus song. But the beat's so dope, you know. It's just like you get by with two chords, man. This cat. Oh man, Screwface John, man. Go check him out, man. His new album came out in August. I think it came out. Yeah, it was released in August. It's entitled Village Boy. Is the name of it. For those of you who live in Lincoln, that billboard, I've actually seen that billboard. It's right off of Cornhusker Highway. You go down Cornhusker Highway over there by oh man, what's the it's like over there by like AutoZone. There's an AutoZone over there. There's a smoke shop. I think it's called the cheapest damn cigarettes. I think it's called. It's like over there by there. There's a used car lot there. I think it's Mr. Hua's HWA Chinese food spot. It's like a shopping center that Chinese food spot sits in. And I think if you go up a little further, you'll just kind of see it. It's just sitting there, and it has, it has Village Boy, Screwface John, Village Boy, and that kind of thing there. So yeah, go check him out. Check out his channel, Screwface John on YouTube. You can just do a search. He's got so many subscribers. His name comes up. He's really well known. Excuse me. He does a lot of rap music video reviews over there. Very entertaining, very funny cat. And he has an interesting take on a lot of those videos as well. For me, I like to talk about the stuff that makes the music work and stuff. I won't give out too much of the trade secrets. The thing I could tell you with this particular song, most of the sounds in that song you can find if you have something like Native Instruments. Steinberg, Ableton. You might want to grab some of the third party VST engine softwares, but definitely East West Music, Sounds Online stuff, 8DO, so on and so forth. If you have but it's two chords. It's E flat minor and B flat minor. That's it. Two chords, and then the rest is just what you do with the drum sounds and the beats. And most of those drum sounds, they're drum. People selling drum kits online for like $40. You can find all of these. And if you got a synthesizer like Omnisphere or Serum, X for Serum, man, you can manipulate those drum sounds to do whatever you want. You just got to play. You just got to go in and play with that software and to get the sounds that you want. Or if you want something that sounds like that, then you just kind of work it out there. But that's the big thing with this song there. Two chords, man. Two chords. He released a banger with two chords. So there you go. He's got another one that he's on with Tech Nine, which is really killing. It's called Antisocial, and that one's got I think that one's got like four chords in it. So, but it just shows you can do a lot with a little, because it's not like these beats are simple like little rinky dink beats. These are real, like, they're really involved in terms of the sounds. What sounds they're using, what VST engines they're using to create that sort of 808 deep bass, sub bass and stuff. So I mean, there's some stuff you kind of got to know to get it popping. But the chords is going to be one of them you don't have to worry too much about. You just need just a few, and then once you got a few, you're good to go. You're good to go. Um, we're going to take a little break, little pause for the cause. Again, don't forget to like, share, and subscribe. Take a couple minutes here. I'm going to play some music for you guys, and I'm going to do a quick composition tutorial and show a couple of examples of some of the things that I like to do when I'm composing music, and then we'll call it. All right. So as as my man Obsidian Ali says, thank you. Oh. All right, all right, all right. Welcome back. So we have I want to get into some nuts and bolts stuff here regarding the writing element of music. So the track you just finished hearing was just a little track I had put together. I was just kind of learning how to create a excuse me, sub bass in the for a drum track, and so so that particular beat was a result of that. I like to call that between Chalmers and Hayes. So for those of you who are from the east side of Detroit, you know exactly where that is, and you know exactly what and where that is. So anyway, um, one of these tutorials, I'm going to kind of show you how, because that one was one that I composed directly in the DAW. But I was able, I can also, but I can create a piece of sheet music. I can create a lead sheet from that. So I'll go through and show the tedious working process of going back and forth, because one of the things that my mentor here at the University of Nebraska Lincoln, he likes to compose a lot of his music directly into his DAW. Because then that way it's just a simple matter of like things that he digs, things that he doesn't like for balance. He can just grab that data, take it in, put it in, or take it out as he so chooses, without having to go back and erase things and then start it over and stuff. You can do the same thing in your notation software. This is one of the reasons why I prefer Dorico. Because I think it makes it a little easier to do that, because I can go into the play menu, which is set up like a DAW, and I can get rid of that data, and it'll erase the measures as well. I can delete that data. I usually don't. I just usually stay within the score itself, and I just erase it in the score, and it'll show in the play menu, which is set up where you have the data information in blocks, using sort of the block notation like you would in your editing window of your DAW software, and it'll show it as not there anymore. So you kind of go back and forth. This is one of the reasons why I like Dorico, because and even like when it comes to sounds for playback function, I love Dorico because the sounds they just drop and play. You just grab your third party software VSTs and you just dump them in there. And then if it's a proprietary VST software, it makes it even easier, because when you start setting up your score in Dorico, it'll automatically grab the instrument, it'll recognize the instruments and pair them properly. And then you can just go in and tweak whatever you want to tweak. So I'm a Steinberg guy, so I use Cubase. In fact, I need to catch up with Cubase, because I'm still using version 9 or 9.5, one of those. And they're like at like 11 now, 11 or 11.5. But I'm still able to do a lot of quality work in Cubase 9. And I just haven't gotten around due to school and trying to put my dissertation and stuff together throughout the year. I just never got around to getting the updates to that. But I will be doing that really soon. So because there are some really cool things that version 11, or the latest version, so far is able to do. So I've been real impressed with the latest version of the video tutorials that I've seen on that. And I use Steinberg's proprietary notation software called Dorico. I use 3.5, and so yeah, uh, it's been great. I originally I started out like everybody else using Finale um, and Sibelius. I started out with Finale first because they were like when I was starting undergrad. This is like 1993, school year 1993-94, and Finale was the new big player. I think there was a version, there was a notation program that existed before Finale, but Finale was the one that ended up becoming sort of the quintessential software for writing writing computer generated music in terms of notation and software is concerned. And so I I started out with Finale. It took me a while, excuse me, to get used to Finale because I had learned how to handwrite a lot of stuff, and I was really good at handwriting parts when I wasn't sketching, but when I was really sitting down and actually handwriting stuff. I had a drafting table set up, in my home at the time, and then in my dorm room, I had all the rulers and stuff to make to make lines straight and things like that. So I really had gotten involved. I learned how to use a calligraphy pen to write to notate my parts and stuff. So I I haven't done that in a while. In fact, I used to actually overcharge people when they would ask me for handwritten parts. Now I just don't do handwritten parts anymore because nobody really does that anymore. I mean, when you go to a place, I mean, it's print music. I mean, it's print music, so it's basically computer generated music. Handwritten parts, man. Um, I actually don't like handwritten parts anymore, and the reason why I don't is because everybody's handwriting is different, and you can have two guys and two ladies, and whatever that have exceptional handwriting, and the parts will look different. You go from one composer to the next or one arranger to the next, and the parts will look different. I don't like handwriting parts for the simple fact of that, because artistically they're expressed differently and they look differently. And I've been in a lot of situations where we go from one chart to the next, and those will be the only two charts in the book that are handwritten, and they're the most freaking difficult to read. So no, miss me with that. Handwriting charts, that you're a dinosaur. You're a dinosaur. I don't care, because I remember somebody was like, well, Maria Snyder uses it. I don't give a damn if I don't give a damn if Vince Mendoza uses handwritten parts. The handwritten parts suck, man. They suck. And the reason why they suck because they never look the same. They never look the same. You never get any consistency out of them. And not only that, but most motherfuckers that you like, they're using print music. Just use print music. I'm so sick of this, like, people like just bucking at technology. Like, look, technology, yes, I believe that it is true that if you let it, it can make us lose certain skill sets. It can make us become, all that is that we become lazy in certain areas when it comes to certain skill sets. But we just have to remember to not become lazy in those areas. And it's not hard to do that. It's pretty easy. I mean, look, we still, I mean, I still know how to write. I still know how to generate parts with a calligraphy pen. It's just so tedious now because I've gotten fast with writing through the computer. Now granted, if you want to do your sketches outside of the computer, I get that. I totally get that. And here's the thing too about cats like Maria Schneider and Bob Brookmeyer. They had copyists. So like when you got a chart from Maria Schneider, you buy her charts. They're not handwritten parts. They're freaking like they're print music. It's print music. But they have copyists. You don't have the luxury of like just writing up some shit and then they're just handing it to a copyist. And not only that, I think the job of a copyist is pretty obsolete as well. But I will concede the point that a lot of times copyists can be part of the editing process, and things that you miss, your copyist will catch. I get it. So I totally get it. But that like refusing to get involved in print music because somebody else is dude, like, and here's the other thing. How old is Maria Schneider? It's like, come on, it's like, look, if you're a younger musician in this day and age, you need to not be you need to be dealing with print music and not be like making people suffer. And here's the other thing. They could have great handwriting. I've never seen any of her hand generated parts. But because she still uses print music, I'm sure the print music is going to look a little better and a little neater than her handwriting. Writing. I know like I said, there are people that do handwritten generated parts, but to me, you know, and to me, it's laziness too. Because the only way that I can say it's not laziness is if you have like uh, hand generated parts that really look amazing. And even when they look amazing, you go to the next person that has amazing penmanship, and they just look different. They'll still look different. There'll be like little nuanced things that are like different. Um, Even though quarter note rests are still quarter note rests, but yeah, just folks out there like this. Let's put this handwritten versus print music stuff to bed, and let's just go ahead and just look print music, man. Everybody's got computers. Everybody's got access to computers at least. So just go ahead and print your stuff. If you're starting out and you want to, like I said, when you're starting out a piece and you want to sketch a piece, I don't have a problem with that. I do that. I do that. In fact, sometimes I don't even write any music when I'm writing a sketch. I just say what I want to do, and then start coming up with ideas. And then when I write those ideas, you know what I do when I write those ideas down? I don't know if you can see this, but I'm working on a couple of little ideas right now. Let me see. Oh, right here. So I have a commission project, if you can see that I'm working on. This is one of the first phrases of some of that. And if you notice, I might call it claymation for the great John Clayton. It's bad cat, man. That's one of my dudes, man. One of my dudes, and just great cat. So I'm writing a piece for him. So anyway, if you notice, I'm just writing rhythms and just writing my little bars and then I got chord changes up top there, and that's about it. That's about it. I haven't even expressed what I want to do. It's just like I wanted to. I had a section where it says a section, a section chord possibilities, and and part of the inspiration behind it, I'm also listening to some things and generating some ideas. So I'm listening to like a couple of since and God rest his soul, a couple Jim Knapp pieces. Great composer, he was a great trumpet player too. People don't know that about him, but Jim Knapp was an awesome trumpet player too. Just passed away this week. I didn't even know that he was ill. I never got to meet him, but I've listened to his music over the years and just wrote great pieces, man. Great pieces for a large ensemble. Then I have like some of my own chamber stuff that I've written over the course of being here at UNL. And so I'm just kind of and also Renee Rosnes is she has got this great tune called Black Holes that I just think is so killing. Such a great tune. She's such an incredible player, pianist as well, and composer. And so like I'm just kind of listening to all this stuff just to kind of generate some ideas. I kind of want to. I think what the direction I'm trying to go into with this one is kind of a step away from the normal traditional sort of vocabulary that has that modern edge to it, like a Thad Jones esque type of piece. I think I'm trying to step out a little bit from that. So I want to still use. I want one of the like the swing piece. I want it to be like some real hip shit, man. Like some real hip, just like that modern, real tasty modern kind of language where you got like the sus sounds and you got some of the hardcore like intense like major 7 raised 5 sounds, and maybe some of the more exotic sounding, so-called exotic sounding scales like the harmonic major or the double harmonic major, just stuff that I can, what are the things I like to deal with that I thought is real slick and uh, I remember writing a piece one time, and then I remember hearing shortly afterwards a piece by one of my guys. Man, this cat is a professor at here at UNL. He's one of our great composition professors here, and he's a great trumpeter too, and flugelhornist and incredibly talented composer. The great Dr. Greg Simon. He wrote this tune for big band called Marble and Glass. Man, if you get a chance, check that out. Go to his site. That's on his site. And buy the score and buy the study score. For those of you that are studying with Greg Simon, buy his freaking scores, man. Get his scores. I used to live my first mentors. I used to live in his scores. I used to get his scores. Now, granted, I had access to them. Um, so I didn't necessarily have to buy them because I had access to them because I was there at the school with him while he was alive, and he would just share them with us. And sometimes, and Greg's a very generous cat, so for me, I would buy him because I want to support Greg. I think Greg's a consummate musician, so I want to support him. But if you're studying with him, man, I stayed in Tom's face about the stuff that he was doing. My guy was Tom Larson, so that's my mentor here, and he and Greg are great friends. So we all used to kind of have great conversations about writing all the time. And so, but Tom Larson, I used to stay in his face about his works, man. I would stay in his scores and I stay in his face asking him questions about his work. If you're studying with a cat and you are not studying their works as well as the works of the great people outside of your school and outside of your mentors, you are derelict as a student. I'm going to tell you this right now. My man, Dr. Thunder at OSU. If you're a student of his and you ain't studying his plan and you're not studying his work, checking out his albums and stuff, you are a derelict. I remember I used to study with this great Michigan trumpet player by the name of Rob Smith. I had like every work that he ever recorded, every work that he recorded, and I was always checking him out. That's the reason why I studied with him, because the cats were great. I don't just study with him just to get information. I study with the cats because not only am I getting information, but it's the information I really dig. You should really dig your teachers. And I find too often nowadays that like a lot of students don't even really dig their teachers. They might respect their teachers, of course, but do you really dig them? I never studied with anybody I didn't dig. That didn't make any sense to me, man. That was stupid. I never studied with anybody I didn't dig. Now I might have studied with people I didn't like personality wise, but I still dug them. They were still great to me. And I studied with them, and I was able to get past the personality stuff because these people, people have their way. They just have their way. I came up when, students would get cussed out in band. I mean, Calvin Jones used to cuss us out, man. He hurt your feelings, man. You be playing a solo. I remember one time, man, Cat was playing a solo, and then we stopped the band. He was like, "Yeah, man, nah, man, that ain't it, man. You're missing all the changes, man." And I mean, it's just straight up, you're missing all the changes, man. How you gonna do that to a blues, man? You can't do that to a blues, you know. You're just playing a bunch of stuff that it just sounds like a lot. You playing a lot of yakety yak. That was one of the things he used to like to tell cats, and they get like just very notey just for no reason. You're playing a lot of yakety yak, man. Don't really have anything. It's not even harmonically sound, and it's like, yeah, yeah. He's had to tell me that a couple times. He's like, yeah, them last two changes, you were skating on it. I was like, yeah, I just couldn't think of like the stuff that's gonna get inside. He was like, yeah, keep working it out. And then a couple of days later, we hit that joint again, or next week we hit that joint again, and it's like, yeah, I had that shit. I was like, I'm make sure I get this. You ain't gonna keep calling me out and not play them. So yeah, but I never studied with someone that I didn't dig, that I didn't really dig, especially musically. Everybody I studied with, I dug them musically, and I didn't have to dig them to play with them, because sometimes you have to sort of test yourself to be able to play with people that you're not, that you just may not have a lot in common, because there may be something there. But you know, most of the people I dug. Now again, that doesn't mean that I dug them all totally personality wise. Like for instance, I had some time to study, in the workshop with like Mike Holliber and Jim McNeely. Neither one of those cats have the personality that I'm used to and that I dig. I don't really dig their personalities like that. They are, but it's not because they're bad people. I just don't know them. I just didn't know them, and I don't know them like I know Calvin. I don't know them the way I know Professor Judith Corey. You know, and so I just I had a different relationship with them. Um, but musically, you damn right, man. Like Jim McNeely's one of the greatest jazz composers ever, man. And Mike Holliber is one of the greatest jazz composers in the world right now, man. I mean, this dude, he writes his writing is sound. He writes sound stuff. It's sound it's like the shit, you know. So yeah, Mike Holliber is dope, man. He's such a dope cat, man. And I'm very glad to have had time with Mike in that workshop. We were, very curt, very honest individual, but he writes beautiful music though. He writes beautiful music. So again, it's people I dig, man. Like I want to know what about their music makes them tick. Makes that what about their music makes the music tick? Excuse me, said that all wrong. Sorry. What about their music makes the music tick? So that's what I wanted to really get into with them. And so when I had time with them, we would talk. I remember one time we got into a tiff when Kat was like talking about one of the students, one of the participants, not students, we weren't really students, but like one of the participants in the workshop had this chord, and he was like, man, what do I call an F minor, an F minor 7 over uh G. And I was like, yeah, that's I was like, that's G7 sus flat 9 flat 13. And it was like it was like uh, 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 yeah, yeah. It was like G7 sus flat 9 flat 13. And it was like, I was like, now and I was telling him, he was like, well, wait a minute, how you say it like that? I was like, no, no, no. It's the dominant 7, the predominant 7 sus. Not I'm not saying like that direct Phrygian sus flat 9 chord as some people because I think is because I had to let him know. I think you're thinking of sus flat 9 as that direct Phrygian. I'm not talking about that. I'm talking about the predominant 7 sus. So I was like, I had to be really clear about that. And so that was one of the things. That's like one of those personality things, like with like Mike. Like you got to be really clear. Like you can't. You got to be really clear about certain things because he's very methodical about certain things. I know another cat like that is a good friend of mine that I've met while working here. He had graduated a year before me. He's a great composer as well, representing Japan. And now he's over at he's a Razorback now. He's up at the University of Arkansas. He's part of their jazz faculty. Great man, great human being, and great composer, Dr. Suzumu Watanabe. And he's another one like that. Like it's very, very methodical, very clear, very focused. So like when you're talking about certain things, you got to be real succinct in how you dictate certain things because cats like that they know, like they know all the general shit, all the fundamental shit about harmony and all that stuff. So it's just like nothing gets by them, and so I had to, and then after that it was like Mike was like, oh yeah, that actually is a way of looking at it. But that let me know to start being very clear and clearly focused when I'm talking about nomenclature. And speaking of nomenclature, let's get into some of this composition stuff before we run out of time here. So check this out. So in the nuts and bolts things, one of the things I want to start dealing with, what I deal with is more harmony, and then we'll just kind of define some terms or at least descriptions. Not so much terms, but more or less descriptions. I like to think of them as descriptions, but terms, whatever, you know. And and then the last thing I'll talk about a couple things regarding scales, and it's just basically it's a simple concept that when we're writing and we start using and thinking of scales, how we want to relate them to our writing. So the first thing, let's talk about a little bit of nuts and bolts vocabulary. So chords itself, like if you hear people say chords, a lot of times people be like, yeah, chords and things like that. This is important because like I kind of dive in and out of the electronic music world as well as the rap world and stuff like that. And so, for instance, some of you may have seen this commercial between Facebook and YouTube. It's called like the MIDI chord pack. And shout out to those cats because what they're trying to do is they're trying to make the producer's job as easy as possible without having to worry about developing the skill set of a person that has studied composition and arranging. I get it, and I understand where people are coming from, but I would caution people who want to get into that and never learn the techniques, the harmonic techniques associated with writing, because when you start doing that, you'll know what you're doing. You don't really know what you're doing. And then anytime you're in a situation where you have to show that you know what you're doing, you're screwing yourself over. And so that's one of the reasons why I'm a little bit not for it, but I get why folks really like it. I actually a year ago I was really hot about it. I called it jive. I thought it was a jive. I thought it was a jive approach to writing, because you're not writing. It's not your ideas. You use these chord progressions. You use somebody else's. That's somebody else's thoughts that put that damn thing together, and you're just gonna drop and play, drop and play, drop and play. That ain't writing, man. You don't get to call yourself. That's like me, like throwing up like it's like me throwing like just installing a Tesla battery in your home and then I call myself a damn electrician. Are you kidding me? Get the hell out of here. Fuck out of here with that. Nah. So I was real like, nah, I wasn't having it. Now I see where cats are coming from. I'm still not really having it because like just learn, just like, well, I don't understand theory. I don't understand theory and this, that, and the other. All you need to know about theory are just some basic fundamental things. And you can't even learn that. I'm not asking you to go into like counterpoint. Tell me about counterpoint, learn about counterpoint, or learn about 12-tone techniques or other 20th century techniques. You know, how to actually write atonal music and unsupported dissonances all across. I'm not expecting you to understand those concepts, but just some basic fundamental things like scales, chords, the relationships between the two. That's fundamentals. That's just fundamentals. I ain't even expecting you to read music really that well. You know, I think as a byproduct of writing, you will eventually you'll learn how to basically. But I mean, I'm not even expecting that. I'm just expecting you to have some fundamental awareness of harmonic techniques, basic fundamental harmonic techniques. So, okay, so what is a chord? And the reason why I brought all that up, because a lot of times they will say the melody. Oh, here's these melodies in the chord pack. And it's like, they're nothing but chord progressions. I'm listening to the whole commercial. I heard one damn melody. It's not a melody. You know, the melody is the actual singable line, to put it, you know, as simply as I can. The actual singable line of the song from hook to verse. In the case of pop music, popular music, it's your verse and it's your hook. That's your melody, you know. And the more recognizable the melody in the pop music world, the better off you're going to be, and the more it's probably going to sell, or at least be recognized and remembered. So you know, so it's going to make a lasting impression. But chords are generally just, you know, they're one or two notes played simultaneously. I don't really deal too much with two note chords. The reason why the two note chord thing I don't deal with as much is because a lot of times I'm just in spaces that, two note chords aren't the only factor that goes into the voicings and the putting together of said harmonies and stuff like that. So I tend to focus on three or more notes within a chord voicing, because usually the sections I'm usually dealing with maybe three instruments at a time, or if we're talking across sections. Um, so then, so the thing you need to realize about chords is the categories and the positions. These are the things that are going to be most important. So the categories, uh, uh, the categories, and the categories, and particularly I wouldn't even say categories. I'd say qualities and positions. So the category qualities or categorical qualities of a chord is going to determine sort of the mood. That's kind of the sound of the chord. So that's going to be determine the mood. That's going to be happy, sad, angry, terrified, terror, whatever the case may be. And so you hear people use descriptive terms like major, minor, diminished, augmented. You might even hear dominant, a dominant sounding chord. You'll hear that thrown around in a lot of musical circles, usually academic circles. Uh, I haven't, outside of academic circles, I haven't heard a lot of people say dominant too much. Maybe in church, and more like church music circles, because some of those guys do understand some basic harmonic movement and approaches. So um, the last thing, scales, and then I'm gonna kind of go and show like an application of this stuff. So with scales, the biggest thing with scales is all scales are normally melody. So yeah, I think I already defined that, but again, just remember your melody is going to be sort of the defining succession of notes that basically the statement of the tune, the statement of the tune or the piece. And so you can have like your main melody, and that's usually going to be the stuff that you're going to remember up front, like your verse, your choruses, or your hook. And then you can have your counter melody. Counter melody is stuff that sort of enhances that main memorable phrase that's being sang. Does the melody have to have a lot of notes? Absolutely not. Melody can be a chant. You know, there are a lot of times we chant things like in the Eastern Orthodox Church, and the melody is just a simple chant. Um, or it's a transliteration of words, but those, the melody can be it can be chanted like long notes, longer tone notes, or notes that are held for longer lengths of time. And then the melody can be using a bunch of short notes, or a combination of the two. So um so with scales, usually scales are just the arrangement of notes ascending and descending, going up and down, um, to where uh, that succession of notes singularly, each note is a part of just kind of a part of a whole. But that I usually think of scales as to the place where we get a lot of our harmonic language, a lot of our harmonic vocabulary, or our harmonies from. And so, and then every note in that scale should either serve as some kind of like chord tone, or supported or unsupported dissonance, depending on the arrangement of the notes in terms of your voice leading. Um, in more contemporary types of music, especially in so-called jazz, you have a lot of people talking about chord scales. I don't personally like to say that term. I like to say scale to chord relationships, or just scale to chord, because um, a lot of times chord scales, I know what people mean, because it's just like, well, what are the scales that relate to the chord? Um, and a lot of times with certain chords, you have a lot of options, but the thing is that people only learn like one option. They just learn one option, and that's the only option that they learn. And in fact, like for instance, a major seven chord, I never would use the Ionian mode for that. I would always use the corresponding Lydian mode for that. And the reason why I would use the corresponding Lydian mode with a major seventh chord is simply because every note in the Lydian mode, corresponding Lydian mode, either acts as a chord tone or a color tone, which in the case of color tones, there's supported dissonances. So that's your major, that's your natural or major nines, your sharp 11s, and your 13s, and they all are pretty consonant sounding tones against the major seven chord. So I actually don't I tend to prefer, I should say, unless we're doing something that specifically has says Ionian, and there are very contemporary sounds that do. I use the sound a lot, actually. In fact, I did an arrangement of Sarah McLachlan's Angel, and I use this particular sound in it. And what that sound is, it has a very suspended kind of sound. And what it is that, like, I would use like a major chord, and then I have the fourth present. But usually the fourth is present on the bottom, and then I put the major third on top. So what it does is creates a major seventh between the fourth and the actual third of the chord. And then, then I pick and choose whatever colors I want in between and go from there. It's a real sick sound. I mean, who's the first person I heard use that sound? Wasn't a classic because it's not really appropriate in sort of classic, like a classic jazz, so-called jazz, big band sense. Doesn't really lend itself sometimes to that sound, especially when you got that splaying ding, 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 ding. When you're digging a hole in the ground swinging, it doesn't really lend itself to that sound. This is more like ethereal, so more like more like Maria Schneider. I think Maria might have been one of the first ones I heard use it. I can't think of the song of the piece of hers. I've heard Jim McNeely use it a bit here and there. Who else? I think those are the only two that I really heard like kind of explore that sound. Jim be doing some tricky shit too, man. Jim will be doing like stuff like where he does like a dominant 7 sus chord, and then he'll have the fourth in the meat of the chord, and then he'll throw the third on top. So then you got the resolution, you got the suspension and the resolution in the same space, and it just makes for. In fact, he uses that. He does the arrangement. One of the pieces I mentioned earlier, Rini Rosnes's Black Hose. I'm giving you some secret sauce. If you want more of this kind of stuff, man, you're gonna have to hit my Patreon to where we can really get into that kind of stuff. Because at that point now you ask me for some lessons kind of stuff, and so like I give you that, but yeah, man, you gotta give me some time to lay this out for you. We gotta spend some time. But anyway, on his arrangement to her Black Holes piece, he uses it there. I ain't gonna say where though. You got to listen to it. You have to listen to it, and you got to find it there. But when you hear it, you're gonna know it, because it's real slick too. It's freaking dope, man. Jim McNeely's dope, man. It's one of my favorites. He's one of my favorites for sure. So okay, let's get into this piece here. I'm gonna share. Let me go over here. Okay, yeah, we could do it like that. Okay, let me pull up. Okay, here we go. And in fact, all right. Let me go over to this bad boy. Okay, there we go. Okay, so so this is a chart I just finished. This is for big band. So one of the things that I did is I wanted to go a little more Thad Jones-esque here with the saxophone section. So I chose a soprano lead, and then the rest is just as is: second alto, first, second tenor, Barry, and then normal 4 trumpets, four bones. Some people like 5 trumpets and 5 bones. When you start adding that much brass, you starting to get into that, getting close to that Stan Kenton and freaking Francie Bowler kind of thing, where you start having that expanded big band sound. But anyway, so one of the things so if you notice, this is I'm using Dorico. I love the workflow here. So in the right joint, it gives you the score. Engrave mode, you get the score, but then this is where you can tweak certain things, margins and things like that, staff options and things like that. You can kind of tweak certain things so that it looks a certain way. This is where you get into the cosmetic, giving the piece a facelift here. And then play mode, this is where this particular software doesn't know if it wants to be a notation software or a DAW, and I love it, because my thing is that my favorite DAW would be a DAW that really has the arranging tool that rivals any dedicated notation software out there. So it seems like Dorico is going to be one of the closer ones to get to it. But I see that Finale and them are stepping it up, because now you can use third-party VST engines with Finale. Well, you always could, but I think you could only use certain ones for a particular period, and then you had the option of being able to use Native Instruments, but there was kind of a way you had to go about it. I don't know. I haven't used Finale since 2003. I know that Sibelius started using Note Performer. They were one of the first ones that I think they were adding next to Garriton. The Garriton sounds were sort of king for a few years, and then Note Performer hit the scene. But all the time, like Helion Sonic was on the scene, but Dorico didn't exist yet. So Helion Sonic was only being used in Cubase. All the other third-party engines like Native Instruments, East West Music, Sounds Online, or Composer Cloud. That's really what that is. It's Composer Cloud with East West Music, or Sounds Online is the company or the site. And then those you could use with whatever DAW. They were compatible with most DAWs. But here, this is one of the few times that I come across a dedicated notation software to where it was just drop and play. So over here, the VST, you see this area of VST instruments. Now you can see where, I can show you the engine. So this is the engine, Helion Sonic, and then it has all the instruments there that are plugged in. If I wanted something else, I would simply have to just kind of add, and then from here, I have my selections. So Dorico Beep, Groove Agent, Helion Sonic, Play, which is East West Music, or East West Music, which has like the Hollywood Strings, the Hollywood Brass, Hollywood Woodwinds, Goliath, and all these proprietary VST engines. And then Retrolog, and then Symphonic Orchestra, which is another Helion software. But I got all the joints I need, so I don't need that. So get rid of that. So back to this writing thing. The other thing I dig is that and the reason why I brought that up is because I can use all the realistic sounds in here. I can use like if I had Native Instruments, their Symphony series has literally some of the best sampled MIDI brass that I've heard, and it's incredible. But it's gonna hit you for like, I think it's like $500 or something like that for the complete series. So you're gonna get what you pay for, though, And then so the next best option for me was the subscription service through Composer Cloud, and so I ended up preferring to use that. But the sounds are so realistic; they don't sound teeny, And even like the basic MIDI sounds, that because they're all sampled. They're all real instruments that are sampled. They're just transferred. The data is just transferred via MIDI. But the sounds are realistic. They're becoming more and more realistic. Now they're still like when the saxophone sound is processed, they haven't gotten the processing up to speed to where it sounds more realistic. There's only one company that has done it, and it's not in Native Instruments or East West Sounds. It's actually ADO, which is compatible with the Native Instruments engines. But ADO is about the best one I've heard so far in terms of the saxophone. The trumpet is pretty killer too. It's fire too. Um, I'm just using the basic joints, so they sound still a little tinny, but nowhere near as tinny as just like the basic MIDI sounds that come with something like your basic MIDI sounds with Finale or Sibelius. They're a lot more realistic. But so, and let's get to nuts and bolts here. So with the drum part here, if you notice, sometimes I like to write these things out, just kind of realize the rhythm. And but I don't want it to be dictated this way. So what I like is this is going to be a solo up front, and they're going to ad lib this, so it's just kind of like a guide. They're just going to use it as a roadmap, and then I think a little later, I write out the rhythms and things like that here. But then we get into okay slash notation here because we're in two. And I don't really need to write that out. I write it out for the sake of hearing it played back. But again, this is one I just finished. This is actually for a friend of mine, a brother who I consider like a big brother to me, who recently passed away. I think about him every day. Fish, I love you, man, and I think about you every day. But this is sort of the composition effort of his passing. Here, but I'll play just a little bit of it, just kind of so you can hear what the playback is like. And here it goes. Let me see. Let me make sure that bad boy can be heard. I think it can be. Oh, give me 1 second. Give me 1 second. I'm gonna do this again. Okay, I might not have, but I had to make sure I share the audio there. Okay. Let me do it like this. There we go. And let me get over to Dorico. Double check. Okay, yeah, that was it. My bad. Okay, here goes. Here goes. Here goes. Let's see here. Let me reduce this a little bit. Okay, so you can kind of see some of the reverb on there, and that they put some of the reverb in some of the processing and stuff, but a lot closer. It didn't realize the mutes and stuff. I had to go in and kind of tweak it with that. I wanted to just kind of get to the writing. Plus, I know what the mutes are going. I know what the mutes are going to sound like, and whatnot. So I wanted to get to that, and then. But like things like even like the cymbal sounds, they've just gotten so much better. And I think this is kind of the case with all of the programs. I just know within this one, it's gotten so much better with things like the drums and whatnot. And it's really cool. So check this out. I'm gonna get to the end of the A section. So this is gonna come back to that intro there, and then go right into the solos there. And I'm gonna just play a little bit of the solo section. The piano sounds have gotten much better, even the bass sounds as well. But check it out. So like you could just kind of hear like even like sort of the hollowness of the cymbal. There's some things they're kind of getting right about especially the jazz drum set, because again, with jazz drums, with straight ahead so-called jazz drums, you don't want your cymbals to be too washy, because it starts to impede what's happening with the bass, and then you can't, and then you it kind of drowns out what's happening with the pianist, or the keyboard and stuff. So you want that very dry, very hollow sounding cymbal. Give me 1 second. Let me just. That was wrong. My bad. Hold on. Let me see if it'll only play the drums. Let me see. Let me see. Yeah. It's like I had to attach to a note. But see, if you notice, you can hear every tap of the cymbal, and that's the thing that you want, for just for clarity's sake. So it just kind of makes the playback experience a lot better, a lot more livelier, and I'd even dare say a lot more inspiring. Just because now the instruments sound good. Now you want to write something that sounds good, for the sake of the instruments there. All right. So let me clear out of that. And a lot of times too, so a lot of times too, what I'll do is I'll try to write out as much as I can for the sake of students too, because a lot of times I write this stuff for professional ensembles in mind, but I also write it with student ensembles in mind as well. And so when I'm writing with student ensembles in mind, some of our students just may not have the experience of a more seasoned musician, and so if I can write out the bass line in a lot of areas, or as in many areas as I can, that will give the student, that'll sort of drag the student, just kind of shuffle the student along so that they get an idea. Oh, these are the note choices with a walking bass line typically, and then they can go from there, and then they can start putting together their own things there. Okay, so that's about it. Again, the biggest thing too when you're writing charts like this, especially for you seasoned writers out there, keep the student and the less experienced professional. Because here's the other thing too: a lot of people may like jazz music, but they don't get to play it all the time. So a lot of times they may end up in your ensemble or in your band, and then they're just looking at slash notation. They don't know what to do, because they may even be struggling reading music, but they can read notes. And so a lot of times, if you can kind of help them along the way, just kind of get their bearings and stuff, and then they'll start to put it together, and it'll just make for a more pleasant experience for everyone there. Okay. But listen, it's been fun. It's been real. I'm gonna take this time to say so long to you guys. I have another podcast with my best friend, Dr. Thunder, coming up this evening, and we're going to do this again. We're going to keep doing this. Again, don't forget to like, share, and subscribe, and hit the notification bell, and also be on the lookout for the Patreon page. That'll be coming very soon. And then for those of you, again, come say hi over at DougPierceMusic.com. Also, make sure you say hi on Facebook as well. A lot of you are already on Facebook, so it's very easy to tap in with me on Facebook as well, and just shoot a line to me. You can message me, all that good stuff. I'm also on Instagram as well, Dr. Doug Music, and so I'll put that tag up on the next one here, and then Facebook.com / Doug Pierce Music. And for those of you that like to support me, please feel free to support via Cash App, especially. That's always great there. And like I said, share, like, subscribe, and let's try to get more of you in here, and that way we can really start having some conversations about some things. I like to also have it where you guys can tap in, and I send the link out. You guys tap in with me, and we can really start having some conversation about a lot of this stuff. I love talking shop with folks, and especially for people who are music enthusiasts, and they surprise me a lot of times. They surprise me. They know a lot more than they lead on. Sometimes they try to act like they don't know that much, and they know a lot. And so it's always nice to talk with you guys about this stuff. I love talking shop about this stuff, and so please, by all means, come by, say hi, and yeah. So without further ado, I'm gonna let you guys go. Before I go, here's a nice little clip of um, Sweet for the Panagia. That's the new release that I'm going to be having. I forgot to tell you. Yeah, Sweet for the Panagia. Again, thank you all who rock with me and continue to rock with me for this particular stream. And again, like I said, like, share, and subscribe. And I'll see you guys on the next one. Okay. I'm going to definitely try to do this multiple times throughout the week. So I'll definitely start sending out notice when I'm getting ready to go into the live stream and give everybody a chance to come in. And if nothing more, say hello and stick around a little bit, and let's have some fun with this, talking about music and things in the culture. I almost forgot. Before I go, I want to leave you with a lighthearted thing here. I'm going to pull this up because this was hilarious, man. Funny conductors. And this was great. This was great. This was a lot of fun. There's two of them. I like this one because he's such an intense individual. He's such an intense individual, but he is hilarious. This is hilarious. So this is the great Gustavo Dudamel, and he is conducting Beethoven's Fifth. So very, very well known classic piece here. And let's go here. Yeah, this is Beethoven 5, the great Maestro Dudamel. Oh, that's great. That's great. And here's another one. Where's my man? That super hilarious. Let me find it. Rainer Hirsch, and Aranye Hirsch. That might be closer to how you actually pronounce it. As soon as I get past the commercials here.
No matter moss for words.
When a cop tries.
This guy's incredible because he actually juggles during his time with his orchestra. Fantastic entertainer, and I hear he's like this in rehearsal as well, and just an absolutely funny guy. Here we go. So now he's juggling. Look at that. All right. Little fun to take you into the rest of your day, guys. Again, thank you for hanging with me. And again, support via Cash App, $Pierce Music. Visit me at www.dougpiercemusic.com. And we'll see you guys on the next one. Take care, everybody.
Magnify me.